And I think that officially we can start it. So if you see somebody in the waiting room, so you can allow to join us.
Wonderful. Hi.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Edwina. Edwina is really a professional moderator, and that's why I kindly ask her to be also the moderator in this time. Regarding Edwina, she has very important roles in the sustainable fashion and also in the sustainable fabrics. She is the founder of the Vivify Textile. This is one of the leading sustainable textile corporation in Australia. And she's also co-founder of Phoenix, you know better the pronunciation. So this is a very important role because she's dealing with developing textile waste recycling technology. So fiber can be recycled, separated, and afterward recycled. So she has a very good practice in the sustainable fashion and the sustainable and circular fabrics and fibers. So I welcome you and be the moderator of our event, Edwina.
Thank you so much, Gabby. This has been wonderful. So to add a bit more entertainment side from my end, I would just I will refresh the room from time to time. And first of all, I would actually start introducing some of our key guests and key speakers. So what I would do is when I do introduce the guests, and I would put in roll drums like this. And the guest speakers can join. Can you hear the roll drums?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And as we go, I will also have specific questions as well to ask our key speakers today to actually dive in a little bit more from a different perspective, specifically. So without further ado, I would like to first introduce the first speaker, George, Andreas George Sur. He is the freelancer brand consultant, and he's also the co-founder of Cocoon Craft and Loomed from India. So let's put hands together. Welcome, George.
Hello. Yeah, nice
Hi,
to meet
George.
you. And special thanks to Gabi to organize all this today. And yeah, what to say? My background. I'm coming from communication design. And I'm working as a brand consultant. I make the image for the sustainable brands. I try. It is first introducing all, or can I start with my presentation? What is the plan?
You can start with your presentation.
Ah, okay. Good, then I will go on. I was a little bit surprised that I was the first one, but okay, I will. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, George, it's visible.
Okay. Who made my fabrics? This was a very, very easy question for me because the answer is very short. He did it. This is a silkworm. We are into silk production, and that is our main worker. But I will start how it all began. In 2012, it was founded. I need to explain some. We are two companies. One company is the Crafts and Looms in India, and it was founded in 2012 by Chandra Prakash Jha and me. In Jharkhand, India. Jharkhand is a southeast but they say southeast. It is in the north side, like West Bengal, then Jharkhand. And my partner Chandra Prakash Jha cannot be on this panel today because we are close to a hard lockdown from tomorrow and we need to manage a lot of things. I need to apologize this. And what we do, Cocoon Craft and Loom is producing silk. And the second company is this Cocoon Creativity Can Care. That is a company in Germany. The headquarters is in Hagen. This is in the west side of Germany. And I'm here from the design studio in Berlin. Wait. So there's a picture from Prakash and me. That was the headquarters in Jharkhand after we were in a temple. So what we do, we produce organic ahimsa silk yarn and fabrics, and also we develop innovative fabrics as well as the full fashion related services. What you see here in the picture is, there was an innovation. It was the first denim silk. We produced it in 2018 and we get an award for it because it was an innovation award at the Munich Fabric Start. As well, we also produced for other labels. This is some embroideries we did for a Berlin-based pret-a-porter label. Here it is a Manaka project. And this is our last collaboration with Chloé, the luxury brand from Paris. And we have some seals. Yeah, we are now we are the largest producer of organic pea silk in the world. And we have this GOTS certification and this Organic 100, India Organic. And since last month, we also a fair trade company official. That 2018, we are the winner of the Eco Bundespreis for Eco Design. And in this year, we got this very good award. It is a German Sustainable Design Award. We are in the category Pioneers. What we can offer from Cocoon Craft and Looms are these organic textiles, like this plain weave, diamond, satin, crepe, georgette, twill, chiffon, organza, tweed. And also we make blended with lycra for underwear or dessous, or jersey for t-shirts. And we can also blend with organic cotton, with linen, with wool, or with cashmere, or etc. And we have also one collaboration with the Lansing company from Austria. And we make this together with the Lansing company. There are our fabrics we produce in collaboration with Lansing. Most of these fabrics are hand looms. And many more, because we can customize your own silk textile with our Peace Organic silk yarns. That is now my title of my presentation today. That is our last collection we showcased in Mumbai last month. The name was Purn Frit. That is a Sanskrit name, come from Hindi, and it means circularity. That was why I call this presentation a circular story of peace silk. That was the collection. That was all hand-loomed silk, and it make with block printing and with natural dyeing. This too, and for example, this is our silk viewer. We make it out of waste because we have a lot of waste when we produce the silk from the yarn that is raw silk, and we dye it and we use it as fur. There's some more pictures of our latest collection, that you have an idea what we do. And this is our philosophy. We respect nature, life, arts, and crafts. Because we really work together with artisans from India. And this is our team in India. This is Govind, this is our junior fashion designer from NIFT. NIFT is the National Institute for Fashion Technology in India. This is our, this is Adnan, our administrator. He organized and everything in India. And this is our Hussein, our master tailor. So what is Ahimsa silk? Ahimsa is also a Sanskrit word and this makes peace. It is peace silk. What is different to the conventional silk? We don't kill the worm inside the cocoon. That is our way. In the conventional silk production, they boil the cocoons with the worm inside and they kill the worm. What we do, we make a little cut in the cocoon and wait till that moment that the butterfly come out, and then the butterfly has a life. That is our idea of circularity. And I can show you how we make it. I have a short video now. This is our farm in Jharkhand.
Hello. Bravo.
That was a teaser for the Lakme Fashion Week. It was in collaboration with the Fashion Design Council in India. So back to our main workers, the silkworm. We have different types of silkworms, and we have also two different ways to handle with it, because one is in the farm that they make the cocoon. I will show you the cocoon. We make the cocoon in the trees, and to protect the cocoons, we put a mosquito net over the tree that nothing can happen with this the cocoons. Or the second way is we collect the cocoons and have it on stock, and then we wait till the moment the butterflies came out. It is normally one time, then in 2 days, every butterfly come out at the same time. And they have a life for 1 week, for maybe some are living 2 or 3 days or 7 days. And this, this time they make love, and then that is the gap we had in the conventional, because they kill the worm and we take care of the butterflies. Then we have this biodiversity. These are the cocoons. And then the production is similar to the conventional way, but without killing the worm, like I said. And this is really handmade now. Now we make this yarn. This is a process. This is a raw silk. I told you about our silk fur. This is made of this leftovers from the production. This now we make this hand spinning. We have one little problem, because we cut the cocoon, and then we need to make it with a hand spoon, spinning, hand spinning. There are different ways to spin this. This is with a machine or with a hand. This is Prakash. And after it, we bring all this together. You can see here, also when we make some blend, Then this is the process when we put together cotton or wool together with the silk. It's also handmade without machines. And when the yarn is ready, we make this hand loom. This is from the farm, this picture I made on our farm, because now we start with the education program to educate young women from the area how to make hand loom silk. You can see the pictures. Ah, yes, and here we work together. That is not in our farm village, that is another village where we collaborate with families and they have in their house, they have this loom and they make the hand loom fabrics in their houses. We are working together with around 150 families in this area. Because it is a traditional area for hand loom in Jharkhand. Till the Britons came and destroyed everything 100 years back, or I don't know exactly when it was. And now we start again with this hand loom in this area. Or we can also produce it with machines. Here are some samples with machines. But I will be honest, we have some side effects. The side effects are like this, because in this area we had this village, the soil was totally contaminated with all this pesticide. And it needs 7 years to recultivate our area. And now from last year, we have also rice there. We produce rice at the fields, and in between there are the mulberry trees with our cocoons. And this is also in the village, in the farm, because there is a community, this village, and now they have a garden that they produce their own food in the garden. Our idea was that the people in this village are totally independent. That's why we also don't make the yarn. That's why we make full fabric, because then they are more independent. What we made is we make some solar panels and water tower here that they have electricity in the evening, because at 6 p.m. it's dark in India, and that's why we have some solar panels there. So now back to the questions, who made my fabric? So I'm really proud of our workers in India, and yeah, this was my quick presentation about the project Cocoon. Thank you very much.
We can definitely give some good effects to, oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. I just lost the screen for some reason.
Okay, yeah, I stopped it. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. I was definitely giving you some good effect for the good presentation.
Ah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George, for your
You're welcome.
presentations.
Yeah.
I have some questions that I would like to ask you for your presentation. You mentioned about ahimsa silk. Obviously, there's a lot of silk available out there in the market. There is just conventional silk. There is sustainable silk, organic silk, and you have your ahimsa silk. What do you think is the best practice? And which one is more commercially viable? And would you please share maybe some of your hard fact that designers can easily forget when it comes down to using sustainable silk to design?
Yeah, but yeah, for me, it's very important to respect life. For me, this, I'm a vegetarian since over 20 years, and I really don't use leather and all the things. But okay, the silk is also from animal, but we don't kill it in the process. That's why I really like this ahimsa silk. There are also some companies call it wild silk, but I think it is only a little bit greenwashing, because nobody will tell you that they kill the worm. Even a lot of fashion designers on the fair are super surprised that, oh, I didn't know that they kill the worm. And it is really, yeah, but killing animals isn't acceptable from my point of view. Conventional silk, in the conventional silks, they use a lot of pesticides. And also when they make the finishing of the silks, there is a lot of chemicals in the fabric or in the clothes. And I think everybody thinks it is a really natural material, this silk. But for me, there's no other option than this organic ahimsa silk. Because it is totally chemical free, our product. And also when we make the finishing, we, as you see in the presentation, we use the block printing, and the block printing is really it is the only way you can dye without water, because it is all handmade. And for me, there is no other option than organic ahimsa silk.
Understand. Before I ask my next questions, I would like to ask all of the participants to respect our speakers by putting themselves on mute unless they have a question and they raise their hands, and we can see your question in the chat. So we wanted to respect, and we wanted to make sure all of us have the absolutely clear understanding of what the speakers is actually answering, just so that you can get the most out of this session as well. So I hope that's all okay with you guys. The next question I have for you, George, is that can you walk us through some of the challenges that you have encountered when it comes down to, I guess, building your brands? Obviously, you have to work in the silk from the ground up, you know, with the silk farming, and then also ravel the actual silk from the cocoon into the actual material itself. So what are some of the challenges do you see, you know, from your point of view, being as a manufacturer from farming all the way to produce the materials available? And how do you overcome, let's say, for example, the issues of commercial, like customization for your customers? Because sometimes some of the brands, they have a smaller MOQ requirements. How do you overcome those MOQ requirements for these smaller brands?
Yeah, but this with the minimum order quantity, it is always a big challenge. It is also a challenge for us, because it is not really sustainable, because we have one silk roll is 40 meters, and that is better when you use this 40 meters, but then we don't have waste, and for us it's more sustainable to have this. But for when you make a new collection, you have the sampling. You don't need 40 meters, for example. Then we don't have this, I will not say it loud, we don't have this minimum order quantity, because we believe in the change, in the fashion change. And for a small label, it is 40 meters of silk, it's a big fabric. They cannot do it, but sometimes we do it with collaboration, because we have some requests from 2 or 3 labels, and then okay, make together this, and then we can do it. Yeah. Was it the correct answer? Because you asked me so many different things.
Yeah, you mentioned about the challenge is the MOQ is definitely the challenge when it comes down to developing. And you also answer the how you overcome the challenge by working with several different brands so that you are able to customize it. But when it comes, like, you know, you might have 3, 4, 5 different brands. They want different colors, and they probably want different pattern or maybe different thickness. How are you then able to combine them? Because sometimes they might not want to have the same silk fabric. They might want satin, and the other one want a different material.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that?
That is really the biggest challenge. This is also because in that everything can only make handmade. We make only hand dyeing, and it is, and then it just makes more expensive. That is, yeah, that is the biggest problem. But we try our best. But mostly we sell well, I lose them. Mostly we sell the natural fabric without dyeing. Mostly the people order only this, yes. It is only when we make also this fashion related services for the brands. But mostly most of the, we work together with the luxury brands from Europe, and they always ordered the plain without dyeing.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much for, is there, like, let me just double check in the chat box, see if there's any questions. Is there any question in the audience here that would like to ask George for further information? If there isn't, then I would like to introduce our next speakers. So our next speakers is Mohammed Fawad Mori. He is a fashion designer, and he's also a fashion choreographer, stylist, and a fashion educator, and a fashion consultant. He is definitely a multi, he is one man wears multiple hats. So I would like to welcome Mohammed to speak on the stage to introduce himself.
So thank you very much, Edwina. First of all, I'm very glad to be part of this team and working with Gabriela from last 5-6 years. So this is the real great platform that we all are working together as a real fighter against fashion sustainability. So I'm Mohammed Fawad Noori. I'm an international fashion designer, choreographer, stylist, and fashion educationist. I've done my 4 years bachelor from La Cham School of Paris. Then I have LTI qualification from Textile Institute, Manchester. Recently, I've done a sustainable fashion course on luxury fashion branding from London College of Fashion. So as a fashion designer, I just want to share that you have to understand the value of sustainability in design processes. The value, how design can create sustainable product. You have to understand what kind of a fabric, what kind of a processes, what kind of a dyeing technique, how manufacturer can use to develop that kind of fabric which is good for environment and good for the our community, to save water as well, we don't want to lose the waste fabric. So I just want to share little presentation, which is my first presentation when I was presenting Global Sustainable Fashion Week in 2016. There is an advanced version about that. Allow me to share a screen. So it is visible. So the title of my presentation is Illumination, because it's the social responsibility of designers to save water and environment. So there are some questions when we all are very much keen about sustainability. Why is sustainability important to business? Why is sustainability important to designers? Why is sustainability important to you and your practices to save water and environment? What I value in the world? This is the question which we have to ask from ourselves. So there are 4 basic agendas about fashion sustainability. One is social, then is economic, then ecological, and culture. So global inequalities, common and individual relationships, governance, and legislations. These are the more important points. This is under economic. Cost and value models in business and political terms, sustainable prosperity, the economic valuing of human capital. In ecological, our relationship with and as a part of a nature, what we can learn from nature and its system. Culture, myth and storytelling versus information-led dialogues. Changing habits and culture is acceptable practices. Fashion's role in culture. This is a very important role because every culture have their different story. So how it can be related with fashion. So what is the manifesto? You have to create your own manifesto. Manifesto usually focus on external goals that shape and guide an individual's or an organization internal creative and business direction. They are often responding to real world problems, advocating a need or a new idea to carry out and provoke change. So we all are a true fighters, and we have to change this environment to live in this environment, because there is no other planet. This is the only planet where we have to live together. So create your own manifesto. These are the basic 7 points, basic forms of sustainability: on demand and custom made thing, green and clean, high quality and timeless design, fair and ethical, repair, redesign and upcycle, rent, loan and swap, then second-hand and vintage. When we use second-hand products or vintage products, so it will reduce the consumption of new products. So I think this is also a good idea. I'm also doing a thesis on this. My MPhil thesis is right now ongoing, and I'm using this kind of a area where you can how to use second-hand and vintage products. So what is the future of fashion? Is sustainable fashion is the future of fashion. Everybody know what is sustainable fashion, also called a eco fashion in the mega trend nowadays. And sustainability calls to action in all aspects of level and platforms from fashion industry. So there is a very beautiful quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which I always acknowledged, because there is no beauty in the finest cloth if it cause hunger and unhappiness. This is the key point where we are starting to designing a sustainable fabrics. Now I'm presenting my collection, which I've designed. The title of illumination, and this is the theme behind that illumination. Light is an electromagnetic radiation. The word refers to visibility of human. Without light, human eye can't see everything. And in field of fashion and garments, when people want to buy any outfit or for himself or her or for any other one, the first impression of human eye is the impact of fabric print design. So we have to keep in this mind to design complete collection of source of light and lamps and ornamentals. This is the definition of my collection: the source of lights and the art or act of decorating street lights using ornamental designs, solar rays, and typography miniature doodles. This is the theme description. The above definition elucidates my whole collection of 3D effects of digital printed fabric, because now there is a ingot inks, which is very sustainable, and we can use that kind of services for printing digital prints. The main source of inspiration is street lamps, posed in merging of ornamental designs, solar rays, and typography of miniature doodles. This is my first fabric design, which I've designed. It is illustrated in black and white design using hanging street lamps and standing lamps posed, creating depth and illusion by creating variation in size and shape and monochromatic color scheme. My second fabric print design is demonstrated solarized neon light effect background design using hanging street lamps and standing lamp. Post created penetration and deception by illustrating frame of white lamps including black stripes in middle of composition. This is my most favorite design and very eye-catchy design. My third fabric print design is established a design by typography of fashion norms and hanging street lamps in the middle of composition. Lamp post on site create diffusion. The most vibrant orange background enrich the whole composition. My fourth fabric print design is miniature doodles. In this illustrate embroidered effect doodles, hanging street lamps in the middle in the light capacity. Also use black lamppost on site, create dispersion. The most attractive yellow background supplement the whole composition. My last print design is gradient ornamental. In this, I developed running print pattern and block print typography, effect hanging street lamps inside, and also use black and white lamppost create illusion. The mild gradient of contrasting background addition the entire arrangement. Thank you very much, Edwina, and this is my small little presentation. If you have any question, you can ask.
Thank you. I'm gonna give you some. all the good job that you have done there. Thank you so much, Mohammed. I do have some questions that I would like to ask you. So when it comes down to your designs and also your materials, how does it make it easy? Like, does it make it easier for you to source the right sustainable material go with your designs when you have the design school background, or it actually doesn't make it as easy as you thought it would have been?
So I think first of all, you have to understand that the value and the importance of sustainable fabrics and sustainable materials. Not that much easy because design school teaches you about sustainable fabrics. When you know about them, when you know the importance and have knowledge, and then you are able to source it. You have to understand the value, you have to understand the importance. When you are in design school always give you a very little information about sustainability, but not in every design school. But now this is the right time when institutes are presenting short courses or degree program in sustainable fashion. But before that, when I was a student, there is not a single course about fashion sustainability, but there is a course about fabrics and materials. When you are studying as a fashion designer, you understand what are the process to develop a fabric, how fabric can be designed, how fabric can be produced. So when you are jump into the practical life, you have to understand that value. You have to understand the processes, and you know how to produce that kind of a fabric. So that's our responsibility as a designer. We have our social responsibility to design that kind of a fabric, which will be highlighted in every part of the world. Because when a person going to buy any kind of a fabric for himself or any other one, so they have to find that kind of a catchy prints, that kind of a design, embroidered fabrics, embellished fabrics, because that attracts human psyche.
Mm. But what is your process when you're sourcing your the suitable sustainable fabric?
Actually, I'm running my brand as a sustainable fashion house, and I'm always doing made to order products. I'm not working in a bulk production. I don't have any MOQs that are bulk production, but my process is that I search the market. I have a very good resources in international market as well. And the person who are producing sustainable fabrics, I contact them and just buy a little quantity of a fabrics. Then myself, I design a collection, a digital print, embroidered collection, and make a 1 or 2 product, customized product, because my brand is a couture brand. It's not a ready-to-wear brand. So that's my process.
Do you have issue to overcome MOQ when it comes down to customization with your customers or with your brand?
Definitely. When we have to order a bulk quantities, and when we have to understand how it can be, nowadays there is a very bad situation in all over the world because of pandemic and the coronavirus. So we are facing that kind of difficulties. But in Pakistan, we have some good sources who can produce organic cotton and organic silks. So we can use that, because organic material is always good for the environment and for a human skin as well.
Understand. How about the next question I have for you is, what does your current experience teach you that you are not able to learn from, let's say, design school? Like, obviously you have your own brands right now and your design school give you the fundamental, but what are the things that they haven't been able to teach you and you have to kind of pick it up yourself as you go?
Yeah, just I already said that when you are in a design school, because you have a limited time, you have to complete your degree in 4 years. If you are doing a bachelor's degree, the 4 years time is very less time to become a professional fashion designer. Institutes are always giving little information about material, about fabrics, about design processes, about design the most important thing is about technicalities of garment producing, like pattern making and draping. So in the short limited time, it's really difficult to get every knowledge. Institutes always give a flavor to understand the value of fashion sustainability. Then it's up to you as a professional practitioner. You have to identify the sources. You have to explore the world, how the rest of the world is working in fashion sustainability. What are the carbon footprints of producing a fabric or development of yarn from field to the end product. So I think practical experience always give you an insight and depth knowledge about the fashion sustainability. But school is also giving a very basic role to give the awareness about the importance of fashion sustainability.
But for new designers coming out, want to join sustainable fashions, how do they actually know to map the missing step in between from what they have learned from design school to, to where you are? I mean, is there a go-to handbook that you can actually tap into? Okay, these are the steps that you have to learn, or do you literally have to go through the hard experience, hit yourself on the wall, and then now I finally learned these are the things that you have to do, but you have to pay a bit of a price to adopt it? What do you recommend?
I really recommend nowadays there is a very good situation if we take it positive that we all are available in home and there are lots of online opportunities to learn about fashion sustainability. London College of Fashion is offering a very good short course. It's a just 6-week course about fashion sustainability under luxury fashion branding. So that is a very important. If you want to understand how fashion sustainability works from different 4 agendas which I've shared in my presentation as well. So that is a very good point to start up. And the world is, I think, is very big nowadays. But due to internet, by using online activities, we can grab many opportunities to learn and explore about fashion sustainability, because learning is a never-ending process. Still, I'm learning from my experiences, learning from your experiences. The other experts are here. I'm learning from them as well. So I think learning is never-ending process. And if you are positive and your manifesto is that you have to learn about fashion sustainability and you have to play your role. In fact, you have to understand, take one step. If you take one step, then you go further. Otherwise, it's really difficult. You can just sit back and relax. Let's me, what time will come. You have to take action. And actions are speaks louder than words. So you have to definitely take a first step, make one easy step, then you avoid using plastics. This is the first step you can take it from your home. So step by step, you can explore, you can learn, you can relate your experiences and learn from other experiences. I think this is the best way to understand more about fashion sustainability.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So just to refresh the room, if there's any questions, please, you can raise your hand. Hi, George, you have any questions?
Yeah, I will. It is okay when I add something, because when I work as a fashion designer, then the designing process is different, because I starting with the fabric and not with the idea, and then I make the searching for the fabric. I start with the fabric. I look what is available on the market, and then I create my collection from this fabric. It is a really different, it is similar to this upcycling process, because you have the material and then you start.
Okay, so yeah, I think also just to summarize, there is this is definitely factual. Both of the designers here, they have the experience. One is inspired by the ideas and one is inspired by the fabric.
Exactly.
So both way actually still work in reality. Thank you so much for your input, George. That's much appreciated.
Thank you, George.
So next, I would like to bring up the next speakers. Our next speakers, her name is Catherine Susie. She is an award-winning artist, designer, educator specializing in transforming the textile waste industry. So Catherine, I would like to give you the drum rolls and bring you on board to be our speaker next. Thank
Wonderful.
You so much.
Wonderful. I'm just gonna just share my screen here. It's just 1 second. Here we go.
I can see your beautiful background in the back.
Oh yes, I'm in my studio today. Usually I do a lot of my recording from home, but I have electrical work going on in there. So just excuse 1 second while I try and open up. For some reason, it's not letting me open up my file.
No worries. So I'll just refresh the room a little bit as you are.
Good. Yeah, thank you.
Should anyone have any questions, you are free to ask us a question and you can put it in the chat box there. Once I spot any particular question relevant for specific presenter, and when we go through Q&As, we can actually do that as well. So don't feel, don't be shy. And if you have any questions, and so right now, let me just see from the perspective of Catherine's. So she, as far as I know, Catherine, she has been working in the industry for quite some time because she actually, her designs are inspired by zero waste, as far as I'm aware of. And I think definitely I'm very looking forward for Catherine to showcase her work and how she actually maximized her fabric usage.
Yes, and it's funny. I'm on an older laptop in my studio. I usually work from my, you know, because I have a podcast that I run, so all my actual good media stuff is at my flat. So I don't know why it's delaying on me. So just bear with me for 1 second.
No worries. So what I'll do is I will probably also give you a longer introduction about Catherine's, as we're waiting for Catherine to come on board.
Yeah.
So Catherine's, she's been working on the zero waste fashion designs for quite some time. As I can see from her side, she has, let me just put that up as well. Oh, there you go. So Catherine, she was introduced to the world of textiles and fashions as a child, creating innovative pieces and outfits through her from her hand-me-down clothing in the vintage fabrics. So being the youngest of 5 children from the mixed cultural heritage, and she's British, French, Canadian, German, and First Nation. So I think the only one thing that you're missing is Asian.
I'm a mixed bag, yes.
And so your background has textiles and clothing allow her to find her voice to express herself culturally and her identity as well. Yeah. So her activism and participating in textile and recycling begins as a child because she participated in a program involved in collection of waste in the provincial park, but it was back in the 90s. So she, as a designer and as a student as well, was able to visit the massive landfill sites in Canada and the US, which give her the profound impact for creativities today. And her in 2003, Susie established her studio, San Susie Textile, and designed a zero waste textile design company, which translates from French to worry-free or without a care. The studio focused on the further development, her proprietary textile processes, and she incubates while she was studying back in the day in the university. And she was able to experiment with the textile waste industry as a result to work on her desire on handcraft applications and industrial processes. So I'm very excited with Susie because zero waste and waste industry is also one of my passions as well. And I'm really looking forward to see Susie's presentation or maybe her introduction about herself.
Yeah, it's my apologies for the delay. This is the first time it's happened to me. I've given several presentations on Zoom, and for some reason this is not. Of course, it's not cooperating with me today, right? So
no worries. I'll just give the extended rest.
Well, you're so kind.
So back to Susie's. So back to Catherine, pardon me. So Catherine's her textile and garment accessories and sculptures have showcased throughout Canada, US, Japan, China, and Australia, my homeland. And she's also the recipient of the BC Creative Achievement Awards in 2006, shortlisted to the Niche Award back in 2007 in the USA, and recipient of the International Designs Green Award in 2008 in the US, and also got shortlisted for the Sustainable Arts and Design Competition back in 2014 in the UK. So Catherine was also visiting artists and lecturers in textile and Welch School at the Welch School of Arts and Design in Georgia State University, the program director of fashions and LaSalle College, Vancouver, back in between 2017 and 2019. So currently she's based in London, UK, pursuing the PhD, and she's also hosting a podcast about material revolution. So that's also, she's a bag of surprise, I can see.
So can you see this? Did it pop up?
Yes, it
okay,
worked.
Finally, I have no idea that, you know, of course, you know, in a professional context like this has to happen, right? So I'm just going to put it into full screen mode. Here we are. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience and me troubleshooting. Yes, my career in sustainability actually began in the 1990s at a time where a lot of the terminology and the lexicon and even the practices were not even in a discussion. And I was actually told I couldn't do what I ended up doing in 2003 in Vancouver. So I'm formally trained in fashion. And, but then through that process in the introduction that Edwina just gave, I found myself, because I found that there was a really lack of knowledge, and there continues to be a knowledge gap in the higher education fashion system when it comes to educating about textiles. So I took it upon myself in the late 1990s to further my education in textiles. So because I understood that that's where the real power was, the real creativity. And because at the time it was a real challenge as an independent designer to be able to get access to materials without having to buy 10,000 meters of it. And so, and also because of that time period, a big
دكتور انا عملت لحضرتك استخدام الحاسب ورا بعضها وكلمت الناس وقلت لك افتحي المعمل ويكون جاهز المعمل من الميكروفون وتكوني موجوده واداك اشوف كل حاجه. انا لسه واقفه معاها دلوقتي
دلوقتي الساعه 12
موجوده هي فوق وقلت لها الناس ما تسيبيش.
Can you hear that? Is it just me?
ده انا يعني بقول نشتغل الاسبوع ده.
And say, would you be able to put yourself on mute?
Okay, awesome. Anyhow, so because of my experience of visiting these massive landfills, I definitely had an epiphany. And this is around 1996. And I thought, you know, these are massive, you know, grave sites of materials. And if I'm going to be a designer, I definitely have a responsibility as to what I put out there. So my material resource during that time period was with post-consumer waste. But as I got into my textile studies, and I was a textile buyer at that time as well, I saw the vast amounts of pre-consumer waste that was being manufactured by mills and in Canada at this time. So a lot of my interest was about trying to establish a regional textile made out of waste materials that were locally sourced, finding ways to implement craft applications, reimagining them in collaboration with industrial processes, as a way to kind of negotiate and create more of a balance and of our understanding and more of a connection to how we experience our textiles and fashion. And so I established in 2002 research that started working with hosiery mills in Quebec, in Canada. And through that process, I was able to establish a textile process. And so you can see here, this model's actually sitting on, I think, about 200 pounds of waste hosiery, so it's undyed. And this one mill that I was working with would produce over 2,000 pounds per week. And my belief is that there is no one solution to a sustainable fabric. It's an impossibility. And because if we try to find a one size fits all, you know, approach to creating sustainable fabrics, we're going to be in trouble, because there's only resources are finite at the end of the day. And so a lot of my research was looking at essentially working with materials that already exist and trying to put them within a process that was complete, that allowed for creative use and reuse to exist at all different levels of the process, informing the ongoing evolution and product development that was necessary to keep this material out of the landfill. Because yes, hosiery is a petroleum byproduct. If it was, you know, after almost 20 years of working with this, there's still an abundance of this material being manufactured and not being dealt with. And that's a huge problem. And it's quite sad, because you would think that at this point, you know, I wish I wasn't having to work with this, but the idea is it has the ability to be continued to be used and reused in a way. And I've developed a completely circular, not only zero waste dye process, but a way of working with this material at all levels of the life cycle, including at the consumer end. And so, and it wasn't an easy, you know, process to develop, because at the same time, my background in fashion and coming up with this material process, a lot of industry wasn't ready for essentially, I mean, when it comes down to the bottom dollar of what you're producing, and yes, I was producing a very bespoke, you know, alternative material out of waste. There are significant forms of labor that does, I'm not sure why my slide's not changing. Here we go. So essentially, a lot of my material development and research forced me to produce a high-end luxury product. But through my years of developing this and developing a business model that honors all the processes, so I had to figure out a way to make what I did accessible that wasn't just this high-end material, because I think, you know, when you're trying to educate and you're trying to make materials accessible, which I think one of the biggest things around materials and educating the consumer as well as industry, as well as students, is that there needs to be different forms of engagement, and there needs to be different levels of participation. So that also falls into how do you create different levels, product levels that's going to reach different ends of the market. You know, and so it creates that balance. And so obviously I am driven by haute couture, because that's what I was trained in fashion. But when it comes to textiles, which I was both artisanally trained in fashion and textiles, I should say, first and foremost. But I am motivated by using, and again, I don't know why there's a delay in my screen here. Why this is
not to worry. I think if there's anything, we can also circulate your presentation back later.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just, it's
to share with the
for me.
The participants.
I keep getting, my sharing is paused, so I don't know why. You can still see it, correct?
I can't see from my side, unfortunately.
You can't see. Oh,
I can see the black screen with your mouse only.
Really? You can't see my images?
Yeah. If the rest of you also is the same, you can flash your mic and just double click like.
Because it's saying sharing is paused for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Can you see that? Not at all?
Nope. Gabby, would you be would you be able to enable sharing, like screen sharing from your side, perhaps?
Father is the host. Maybe you can help.
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to, I've had lots of images up so far, so if no one's seen it, it's kind of.
Gabby, you're mute, so we can't hear you.
Yeah, it's a blank page.
Yeah. Well, it says sharing is paused for whatever reason. I've never seen this before, so I can stop that again. Can you see that?
No, you are not screen sharing now.
Okay. You see that?
Yeah.
You can see that.
Yeah.
Right. You can't see anything now.
No, again, a blank page.
Wonder why that is. Okay, well, I will just have to leave it like this because if it, whenever I expand it, it's not wanting to.
It would be great.
It's because maybe when you try to do an automatic screen share, you have to select screen share because when you...
I did. No, I have. I've done this before. Yeah.
Oh,
it's just,
well,
it's
I don't know then.
me, it's not, it's weird. For some reason, when you go to put it full screen, I've never had that happen before. Anyhow.
So if we can put ourselves mute again and then let Catherine to continue her unfinished story, it would be wonderful.
My apologies. So now you can see some images. So this essentially, you can see in this image, this is what the raw resource looks like coming straight from the mill. And so they're imperfect cast off materials that I purchase. It's not, I don't get it for free. A lot of people, there's a big misconception, but I've developed partnerships both in Canada, US, and in the UK over the last 18 years, essentially allowing for me to continue my material research and the ongoing developments that well, just an ongoing developments. It's a material development, but it's also a business model development at the same time. It's not just a, you know, I produce textiles, I produce obviously a clothing line, an accessory line out of this, but it's also about motivating a change in our understanding of practices and what we can do to motivate waste textiles. And there's so many different waste streams out there. I just happen to specialize in one specific waste stream, looking at how we can use this as a, you know, my business is just essentially a recipe for other people to follow, you know, and so that's why I've also been pulled into higher education because of my understanding of how to not just monetization of working with waste materials, but also being able to manage and reimagine craft practices with industrial processes, and on a small scale, but also on a medium scale. And when it comes down to producing and what people, my clientele over the years, is what draws them to what I do is that it's completely, when it comes to caring for this, it's excellent for travel. You know, it's easy to care for. It's abrasion resistant. I go through a process of different applications, but everything is completely zero waste, from the dyeing to the printing, and even the offcuts that are used, that are collected throughout the cloth manufacturing process is utilized in the accessory designs that I produce, as well as it's become a yarn and a material resource for other designers to work with. I've had many designers across the world approach me about buying my waste. So I produce out of a waste material, and from there I've developed an entire community supplying them with some of the offcuts that essentially I utilize all of it, but I also have such a demand and interest in working with it because it's not available anywhere else in the world, essentially. And through that, through my years of doing the work that I've done, I've been fortunate to develop an international career and a following related to my work. And so I've been highlighted, obviously, in different fashion magazines and textile magazines internationally, but I've also been included in very seminal textbooks around practices over the years, and a lot of it being within the sustainable fashion, but social change element of it, because my practice isn't just about creating fashion. It's not just about sustainable fashion. There's a bigger picture at play when it comes to producing textiles, and it's a cultural byproduct. It is, you know, it is something that is so significant that each and every one of us has a relationship to in each and every day. And it's something that we have to look at the big picture. And so when it comes down to working with this particular material resource, and this is an example of some of the, I do a lot of installation and exhibition work and sculptural work that gets also the narrative of this material, the story of this material is interwoven into more of an interdisciplinary use, which textiles has the ability to perform within and from. And to me, I think when it comes to sustainable textiles and fabrics, we do need interdisciplinary solutions in order to allow for this material to be used and reused in various different ways. And some materials which biodegrade a lot faster, you know, in this case, you know, this particular work, I did furniture pieces which I've exhibited as a result of examining how much waste I was producing over a 6-month time period. And so what I'm trying to illustrate is that there's so many different facets within, you know, not just in my specificity of working with this material resource, but also within the valuable role that waste textiles serves as a whole and what it can offer within, you know, within circularity as a whole. And so, and this is an example of a rug designer that took some of my waste scraps. So you can see the image previously, one of my old dogs hanging out in some of the scraps there in my Vancouver studio. Essentially, this is an example of another designer working with my textiles. This is another one producing some interior textiles, combining, you know, my fabrics with some of her other embroidery designs. But I've worked with a lot of jewelry designers and many other, you know, which has expanded my knowledge of where this material resource can go to. And also, again, it's feeding a material community. So I essentially was trying to find a solution to utilize this waste material. Never thought it started out as a student project. Never thought I'd be still doing it almost 20 years later. And when I've collaborated and worked with other designers, it showed me other avenues which I don't have the time or possibility to even, you know, do the product development with and for. So it's really, there's a continuum. And in order to find certain solutions and working, whether it's working with this particular waste stream or any waste stream, my experience has taught me that collaboration is key. And also when it comes to, you know, sustainability and fabric production, it's important to tell the story of it, honor the story of it, honor the people who are involved in the making of it. It's also such a powerful educational tool. You have to be extremely patient, you know, and that's something I've had to learn over the years, is to be patient to tell the story and to tell, and to be able to be okay with the fact that this isn't an overnight success kind of, I didn't get into this to be, you know, famous. I got into this to make a change. And so, and that's what continues to drive to do what I do. So.
Thank you so much for sharing your inspirations, Catherine.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it, and really appreciate you walking through your story and your inspiration as well. If anyone who have questions, feel free to put down your questions in the chat box, and we will actually start asking the question towards the end, and then we have you know, all the relevant speakers to kind of respond to it. But for the time being, I would like to ask you some questions, Catherine.
Sure.
So you're working in the zero waste.
Yeah.
I imagined with your design there is an element of circularity in that. So what does design in circularity mean particularly for you, perhaps?
Well, when it comes to circularity, you have to think of it, it's not just one part of the process, it's every single part of the process. So when you remove a certain ingredient from that process, you know, you do you learn to adapt. And to me, sustainability is about adaptability. And so is circularity. I mean, it is something that, you know, has been part of the human story since the beginning. We're just at a time where there's such an abundance of materials in our environment that we do need to find different approaches around circularity. I don't think there's a one size fits all. So for me, it's about understanding the life cycle, and at different stages, it's going to be quite different. Like the life cycle that happens within the dyeing process is very different than a printing process. And so you have to be able to negotiate what those different things are and how they feed into each other. And also any of the residual that comes from that, what are you going to do in response to utilizing that? You know, whether it's wastewater, and in my case, the water was continuously used, and it was, you know, anything that came off that was evaporation, but it wasn't a toxic evaporation. And so it's understanding the life cycle of every process that you're working within, and really managing that so that it's feeding into, and organizing it so it's feeding into each other. So there's a flow, you know, not just, you know, in a systematic way, but creatively too, because I do believe that, you know, when it comes to utilizing craft applications with other sustainable processes, that, you know, as soon as you remove the hand from the from the making of a textile, there tends to be a form of vacancy that can happen. And it's not to say that you can't use, you know, manufacturing processes within that. I think there needs to be a better balance around that. And so I think understanding what circularity is in design is something that, again, requires an interdisciplinary approach. You know, it's such a process-oriented thing. It's not, you don't just plunk it, you know, in certain sections. It has to be more holistic.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do with your design at the end of your design's life cycle? How do you apply that when it comes down to when you first originally source the material, which is the waste feedstock? Yeah. So then when it comes down to the end of your garment's life cycle, how do you then you know, bring it back into circularity from your?
Well, you know, one of the great things I can say I built in probably about 15 years ago is a lot of my clientele, because of the nature of the material, and part of my education was, and pre the boom of, like, you know, repair that's happening, mending and repair, I would constantly have clients come through the studio and contact me. And what we would do is we would reimagine those garments into something that fit into their lifestyle. And so often the case, you know, if clients had 4 or 5 pieces that maybe they outgrew, for example, because women's bodies change, let's just say. And so they would, and so through that assessment, we would create something very specific so that that material continues to exist on, and it can, and in a way that you know, it continues to tell the story of that client. And so I found a lot that just kind of started happening right around, you know, when Katrina happened in the United States. You know, there was a beginning of an awareness. And I think through, you know, online shopping and just through the communication that we have now, you know, having conversations with directly with my consumers, but also through the, you know, the boutiques and all the other environments where I had my work showcased and sold over the years. I feel like consumers felt they could come directly to me very early on to have these conversations, because they, you know, there was already a consumer interest in finding ways to deal with, and because they knew how much work and how precious and how original the work was, they don't just want to, you know, send it off to a landfill or secondhand store. So, you know, I've been fortunate for that to be built in. So I know that that's something that I guarantee with any textile or clothing or byproduct that's produced out of my studio.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So while we're on this circularity topic, I also wondered, what do you think is the best practice for zero waste design? Do you have any recommendations, you know, for new designers want to be a part of this journey? And how does that, like, when it comes down to the zero waste designs, how does that also impact, you know, the way that you search your feedstock as your source material?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I mean, really good quote. Limitations equals liberation. So sometimes in the creative process, the less that you have to work with, the more creativity comes as a result. You know, necessity is the mother of invention. And so, you know, when you are limited with certain, whether it's tools or materials, you force yourself to get to know a material. I really encourage, I think everybody should become an expert, not just on a couple materials, but just one in particular. Get to know it, interview it, research it, play with it, see what it can and cannot do. You know, find ways of getting to know and developing an expertise with the material. And then at the same time, you know, when it comes, that's just, you know, one aspect of it. When it comes to zero waste pattern cutting methods, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting traction, and some of my colleagues who've spearheaded a lot of the research over the last, you know, 15 years in this area, between Australia and the United States and New Zealand, I should say, like a lot of them are shifting their knowledge of the zero waste pattern cutting method, which has been predominantly digitized nowadays, but they're going back into and translating that into their knowledge of how fabrics are woven together. So I think there's a really interesting relationship of developing an intimacy around a material so that you want to preserve as much of it as possible, utilize, you know, all aspects of it. But then that just informs how you can consider your pattern cutting. You know, you can look at what other people are doing, but then adapting that to the material that you're working with. And then thinking about, hang on a second, okay, so you figured out how to transform and utilize zero waste pattern cutting methods with this fabric, but then how can you change the way that the fabric's made, perhaps as a result of figuring out new methods of zero waste pattern cutting, so that you're actually eliminating waste at the fabric manufacturing level. So that's just kind of, you know, there's different thinking around that, but I think you're going to see a lot more of that moving forward.
Right. Tapping into that, I have a very interesting question I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've seen so many different stream of waste feedstock coming into, you know, as a beginning input for your design, what material do you think we should not even consider because they are not sustainable?
Well, you know, I mean, there's no one, I'll say there's no one sustainable material that's out there, you know, and but I think if we could eliminate anything that's petrochemical, we don't need to be producing any more of it, you know, and it's problematic in that some of it can be recycled, but some of it can't, because we all know about the micro shedding that happens as a result of using, you know, petroleum-based textiles, you know, so we have to consider with what we do have, how we care for it, so we're not putting all of this into our waterways. But at the end of the day, we don't need any more petrochemical. We don't need any more polyester. We don't need any more nylon in this world. We just don't.
Right. Understand. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Although I still have more questions for you, but I'm gonna save it till the end and then start introducing a second round speakers, if that's okay with you, Catherine.
Yes, of course. And thanks for your patience, everybody, with my presentation.
So without further ado, I would like to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Christina. Do you excuse my last pronunciation of your last name? Is the you?
Don't worry. It's okay.
So she's a former researcher from a company called IonCell and specializing in chemical recycling for natural fiber. So we really would love to have Christina to come on board and share her inspiration journey with us.
Well, hi, thank you very much. I am super grateful that I can be part of this discussion today. So thank you very much. Let me try to share my screen. I will actually talk to you about man-made cellulosic fibers overall. and also ion cell technology, which is actually a technology made by Aalto University, the bioproducts group in Aalto University. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So yes, as I said, I will talk about man-made cellulosic fibers. I'm not sure how very known these fibers are, though everybody knows viscose. But these fibers also include lyocell fibers, for example. What is common in these two and all the other man-made cellulosic fibers, that they are all made out of biomass, so basically wooden cellulose material, and that's how we make products out of it. Here you can see some of the examples which has been already made at Aalto University as examples. This one is actually the one which I heard first about, and that's how I got to Aalto, because this one was the dress for the first lady at Finland some years ago, and well, she was the first one who wore an ion cell dress. So a little more about ion cell. Here you can see the production circle. We use new material, which is wooden material, or we can also use recycled fibers, which I will get to a little bit later. Then we dissolve these materials, we spin it, we make fibers out of it, and then yarn, and of course a new textile product. Ion cell actually is a lyocell type of technology. The only difference is that the dissolution happens not with a new solvent called ionic liquid instead of NMMO, which is less flammable and also an environmentally friendly solvent. And the fibers that we produce, they are really strong and they feel soft. You've seen some of the examples here that they are really how to say, light falling materials, and their tenacity values are reaching all cotton and viscose tenacity values as well. And ion cell process is actually proved to be really good, and it's revolutionized the recycling of textile, which is the chemical recycling of all cellulose materials. It has been proven to recycle already cotton, hemp, and also viscose. What I would like to actually raise attention for, how one of these chemical recycling research looks like, that this is what I've been doing there at the laboratory. So we use a post-consumer cotton waste and a retinous material as well to see if it was possible to recycle these materials. We prepared dopes with the ionic liquid, which you can see here, with a needle and all these laboratory equipment. We could do some dissolution studies under microscope to see if the cellulosic particles were all dissolved. Here you can see some examples when it wasn't 100% dissolution, but it was already working. And then we do the fiber spinning through a dry jet wet spinning process. This is known already in the textile production, but we use it with our dope. And then we can, here you can see the fibers that I've been producing, and then we do the fiber testing and the tenacity value measurements. So this is to prove that this works chemically. This works to chemically recycle cotton material and also all the others which I said before. And we also know that chemical recycling is really important, because it is not possible to completely have a completely recycled piece of material if we only talk about mechanical recycling. Although I also did once consumer perception research about these chemical recycling technologies, and here you can see that although people who had quite nice knowledge on circular economy, they still would choose organic cotton instead of chemical recycling. And also there is a threat for these man-made cellulosic fibers that they can be called synthetic because they are man-made. And this has also a really bad reputation in consumers' perception. So I believe this is something that we really need to raise attention for. And one way that we can do is that we are transparent. If we are a brand, we have to be really transparent of what we are using and how these man-made cellulosic fibers are produced, and that they are biodegradable, they are chemically basically the same how cotton looks like or any other cellulose material. So transparency is super important, also clear communication and accountability. And yes, I believe man-made cellulosic fibers with the lyocell technology and ion cell technology are part of the future. And thank you for listening. Be part of the revolution.
You apologize. I think your presentation got stuck on slide 3, and then it was
okay.
Would you mind to just scroll down back into slide 4 and slide 5? There are a couple of comments from the audience. Would love to see the other slides that you were presenting and talking about before.
Sure, no problem. Can you see now my slides?
No, it's if you can share your screen again, that would be wonderful.
Okay, yes, sorry. So now you can see it.
Yes, indeed. But we couldn't see
okay.
slides, like after slide 3, we couldn't see anything else after that. So were you?
So this was the one with slide 3, right? And then I've been talking about the laboratory work, how it looks like for outsiders to imagine how chemical researchers are working on these kind of technologies with the base material and the ionic liquid, and then other methods that we use in order to be able to spin this kind of dopes, which we prepare here. And then we do the fiber spinning with this dry jet wet spinning process. And yeah, I've shown some examples how our little samples look like, which we can do the fiber testing with. And then I've shown you a consumer perception.
Are you meant to only share the slides 3,
or
also meant to share slides 4 and 5 and 6?
Okay, 4, 5, and 6.
I think we were only able to see slides 3, and then we are not able to see your slides 4 and 5.
You still cannot see them?
No, unfortunately, not yet.
Okay. But maybe I will also do how Catherine did, that I will show you this way.
It's moving now. It's perfect.
Okay, great. So you can see the laboratory slides.
Yeah.
And here is the consumer perception slide. And there was some of the reflections which are really important to move forward with these technologies without a bad reputation.
Understand. So for any audience, if you have any questions specifically about the technologies that Christina was actually previously working on and her expertise, please feel free to put it in the chat box as well. But in the meantime, Christina, may I ask you some questions?
Sure.
So you've been predominantly focusing on the recycling on the natural fiber, and did you mention that this technology was specifically using ionic liquid?
Yes.
So when it comes down to using ionic liquid to process, let's say, cotton waste, are you able to process, was the technology itself able to process color, materials, or maybe like cotton with coating on it, or cotton with mixed with other materials so far?
Well, actually, no. What we had researches on about dyeing is that if we had a dyed material before, like my was consumer cotton based, I could be able to receive back the same color. So this was a really nice result. And apart from this, the coating and also the finishing of the textiles are happening separately. So that is the commercial way, let's say so.
Right.
But this is not in the economy yet, or not in the industry. This is on a research scale, at least with ion cell technology. Yeah.
Yeah. And were they able to scale up the operations already in the industrial phase, or this is in the early phase?
Well, yes, the research itself was happening already like 10 years, and the pilot plant was built the time when I was there. So the last, let's say, 2 years, they were working on the pilot plant. This works already quite well, but this is still at the very beginning. There are some examples like brands and companies that would collaborate with the research group, like Marimekko, which is the Finnish brand, but also Coco Chanel was part of this collaboration. So we would be able to produce a certain amount as a sample for these designers to make one pieces of clothing. And the pilot plant works now, I believe, properly already.
Okay, fantastic. So maybe from your background, are you able to walk the audience through, since they are not from the recycling industry, what methods are there for the recycling? And what are the differences between mechanical recycling and chemical recycling? And what material can be recycled today and what material cannot be recycled today? If you enlighten our audience, that would be great.
Yeah, sure, no problem. But actually, my expertise is mostly in natural materials. But this kind of lyocell processes, we can chemically recycle already all the cellulose materials, like cotton, hemp, and viscose, which I mentioned. I know about the polyester recycling as well, which happens, and there are some chemical methods to recycle polyester, but it seems to be still very much at the beginning, so it needs lots of improvement with the chemical recycling for polyester. And also it would be nice not to use polyester at all, as Catherine was mentioning. But what is really important between mechanical and chemical recycling is that mechanical recycling is amazing, it's really nice. But we need to know that with mechanical recycling, we shorten the fibers, and therefore we lose lots of quality. So we always need virgin material if we mechanically recycle. If we would like to make a mechanically recycled cotton t-shirt, we need to know that it can be only, let's say, 60% recycled, and the other 40 we still need to be we need to use virgin cotton material or chemical recycled material.
And there's also mechanical recycling available for natural fiber as well. Are you able to share the differences and why chemical recycling potentially is a better solution compared to the mechanical recycling?
But the reason is this, because mechanical recycling means basically to shred the material, and therefore we shred it, and then we mix it, and then we make yarn out of it. But we skip the process of molecularly building it up again. So therefore we lose lots of quality on the tenacity values and on the fiber values. And this is the reason why I would say so that chemically recycling is better, though the mixture of both is the best, because chemical recycling goes until the molecular level. So it builds up the molecules again with these methods.
Right, understand. That's super interesting. So when it comes down to the end of recycling, specifically in chemical recycling, what sort of material can we expect out of these technology that you previously worked on? Is that already come back out as a yarn material, or it comes back out as a pulp material, and then some other company can take this pulp and then turn it into yarns?
Well, it is actually a fiber that we can produce with this one, and then we did have the equipment also at the university to make the yarn itself and and pieces of little fabrics. But of course, it depends on how you distribute the work. So the technology itself produces the fiber.
Okay, wonderful. So therefore, in your perspective, now that you know there is technologies are working on recycling or chemically recycling natural fiber, and also chemical recycling synthetic fiber, I guess I'm coming back to this question to you is, what material should not be considered to be sustainable? And would you be able, like from the recycling standpoint, you know, sharing your insight with designers and production mills, what kind of material would you recommend, and what kind of material would you not recommend?
Okay, so I believe recycling, as it is a really huge part of circular economy and a very important part of circular economy. As Catherine mentioned about synthetic materials, that, well, for sure, virgin synthetic materials shouldn't be produced anymore. I'm not against recycling them, because then at least they would have another life. And according to circular economy, we should also keep these materials in the circle as much as we can. But of course, there are all the other concerns with microplastics, with the synthetic materials, and all of these. So the best is the natural material. It's biodegradable, and it's also usable and recyclable very nicely. And yes, then materials like polyester should be sourced out immediately as new. And then if there are still, then yeah, I believe we can at least reuse them, not to throw them to landfill.
Understand. That's a very good beginning, I guess, you know, for designers, because I think usually what the fashion industry has been working is that everyone is minding their own business. Designers are focused on finding the right material for their designs so that they can actually get the right pattern makers and then produce the productions. But little the connection that actually need to consider down the track is that what material they can use at the end of the day is going to be you know, more circular or zero waste in this regards. So thank you so much, Christina. I really would like to give you a bit of for being on the stage and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you.
So next we have Dr. Swami to join us on the stage. So Dr. Swami Sachin Patel Om, he's the founder of Nations Fabrics by Makati. So Dr. Swami, would you like to join us on the stage and share your insights about sourcing material and also material developments?
Thank you very much, Edwina. Hello, everybody. Myself is Swami Dr. Sachin Patil. I'm from India. I'm a founder and artistic director of Mekhari Couture Fashion Private Limited company from India, Mumbai. Can you hear me all properly?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. So I also introduce my director, Mr. Prashant Patel. He's also joined our seminar here. So who made my fabric this campaign? I'm very glad to Gabby. We are working since 2 years together, and we had same program like last year. So I'm going to present my, I'm working on khadi, especially this handmade fabric, which is made by Indian artisans in different states, in different rural areas. I especially work on khadi, silk, wool, and hem fabrics. which is made by Indian artisans from village, and mostly that women's made this fabric. So I'm going to present my presentation of khadi, which is made by uh, each charkha. Now it is a different charkha which is innovated by different engineers in India. So Mr. Prashant is going to show our presentation on screen. Can you just show the Prashant, Mr. Patel, sir? So this presentation is specially made by IIDC Institute of Fashion Technology uh, in Jaipur. Okay, so I will just show you the presentation of webinar future of. This was made on 1/10/20. So this is made by Mrs. Dr. Tulika Gupta. So webinar future of handloom khadi. So can you just scroll down, Mr. Prashant? Hello. Can you go for second page? Mr. Prashant, can you hear me? So basically, what khadi is like, it is sustainable and made by hand, hand woven, and it's like made by cotton. So I'm just going to present, tell you about the story about the khadi, what exactly it is made by cotton, some fabrics made by wool, and some fabrics made by, this thing, what do you say that, silk. So what is the khadi? Like if you define the fabrics, the khadi is an hand woven fabric made with hand spun yarn. These days, most fabrics are made by mill spun yarn, either on handloom, power loom, or mills. Most of the hand woven fabrics today are made with mills made yarn. So they are hand woven, but not khadi. But why do we discuss khadi on Gandhi Jayanti year after year? Because what the significance and future of khadi? Does this have any future at all? Khadi is not just only a fabric; it's a philosophy. Khadi as a fabric, yes. It is also philosophy of self-reliance and sustainability. Khadi is the Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of promoting made in India, work with your own hands, be a producer, not only a consumer. So I'm going to present you one symbol. Khadi was a symbol of self-reliance, a fight against British imports. So you can see the rune of the industry. There is one book. Okay, in that book it is written that what was wanted and what was to be copied were made as accessibly for study. The work was done with thoroughness and precision, and the dealer in khadi cotton good in Great Britain were told exactly what they could and could not sell in India, was they ought and ought not to produce of for India. Nothing was omitted. The number of spots on the saris was carefully noted, as there were so many spots in the sun. No detail of Indian clothing was neglected. The varying hues of the turbans, the lengths, the texture of the borders of the dhotis, the delicates are in the Muslims, the lights and the brilliant prints, muslins, and the light and brilliant prints, and finally unpronounceable name of all sorts which Englishmen could not even have understood. The British manufacturers was not to look for his customers to the upper the 10 billion of Indians, but to the hundred of millions in the lower grades. Now you can see the philosophy of Khadi of the self-reliance sustainability is the way forward. In calculating in youth the value of sustainability, the learn to reduce, reuse, and recycle, to generate meaningful employment, self-reliance, to be able to create product that they wish to use, to be able to use the indigenous skill and revive the hand skill of craftsmanship. You can see there's one lady, she's weaving fabric, weaving thread through charkha. So you can see the texture of which is made by hand on the screen also. So khadi is way forward a bright future. Khadi is the freedom to spin and view your own fabric. It is the freedom of spirit and freedom from consume, consumerism. consume less, but consume with pride what you have created. It shows respect for handcrafting and for humanity, links various industries together. It is a means to satisfy needs, probably not the greeds of every human being. It is the epitome of simple living, high thinking. Like there is one, slogan in Hindi, like "Khadi gaon ke saur mandal ke surya ke saman." It is like sun. So this is all about the khadi presentation, which we are working since 9 years in the industry. Okay, even if you can find what exactly our mission, vision, and value of the khadis. If you can see the mission, vision, value of our khadi, I will just uh, tell you. If you can see the khadi, why we are in khadi since 9 years, because all weavers from different state and different areas from India. So sometime they won't be able to, because of this mill fabrics, they won't be able to get employment, and they won't be able to get a job from consumers. So that's from the different companies. That's why we started this mission since 2012. The world we live in today is facing various challenges. About half of the world's waste water problems are linked to the production and textile goods, chemical use in dyes and finished fabrics, which are causing harms to human health and also to environment. So Khadi Kutu Fashion is striving for a sustainable, safe, earth-friendly approach to fashion that will benefit the world. And now Khadi Kutu Fashion was established in 2012 in India, like is present in UK also, USA, Singapore, and Europe. Our collective vision is to globalize national handmade khadi fabric, which is cotton, silk, wool, sisal, puma, bamboo silk, banana cottons, which is by Me Khadi as a universal eco-fashionable brand. We aspire to create more employment opportunities to educated unemployed people in India, not even in India, in Bangladesh also, North West, then Sri Lanka, Bali. There are different countries. Our workers are there. We are closely working with exclusively artisans from different rural areas from India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. We are striving hard to promote these artisans globally. We have an exclusive experienced team who are always ready to explore new artisans from different rural areas of India according to the experts of the workmanship. We support all the artisans from India, rural and urban areas who are expert in various fields, to the textile, weaving, hand and machine embroidery, block printings are there, dyeing are there, Nations Fabric by Me Khadi managed production and sampling capacity from supply to the international market. We have our factory set up and also have a dedicated satellite productions unit to promote organic and handmade textile garments. We focus on authentic city quality and cost per demand. We have our own research team for designing, pattern making, hand embroidery, and fabric manufacturing across India. If you find our mission, vision, and value, our mission is to promote sustainable living by establish a link between an eco-friendly offering and human-friendly process. Our vision of Mikhadi, our vision is to become the most trusted international brand in the fashion world that unites global culture and forecasting our planet for future generation. Values and sustainability. Sustainability is a consist progress that is balanced and has a long-standing commitment to drive changes in the world. For us, sustainability is not just about the environment, but also about our people, culture, processes, design, technologies, research, knowledge, wisdom, relationship, stakeholders, profits, market, and all the other constructive facets of humanity and business. Excellence is a constant
Sorry, I
and
don't mean to cut in because we actually were running quite late. This is supposed to only last for 1.5 hours. Would you
yeah.
I do apologize, Mr. Patel. We still have one more speaker to come on board. Would you be able to share your highlights with your presentations with us, and so we can actually go into Q&As. We still have some Q&A sessions. So is it possible that you can highlight the key points that we can, so that we can introduce the next speaker coming on board? We're running half an hour. So sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Prashant, can you just scroll down the this thing presentation, Mr. Prashant? I'm also trying from my side, but it's not happening from my this thing. Just a second, I'll just ask Mr. Prashant, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, can you just scroll down our presentation? Can you just scroll down the presentation, please?
This is a page certification.
Yeah, So first, you can just narrate and you just show the presentation.
One second.
First one, that Mr. Gupta's one. Mrs. Gupta's one, yeah.
This one?
First presentation. You can just scroll down the whole PDF file.
And is a way forward of bright future.
Yes. Yeah,
there is some error here. There is some error here.
Yeah, this one only. Just yeah, so you just scroll down the presentation, so you can they can see the presentation for slides. So you can see the slides like.
No worries. I think what we can do is that we can, if you are able to share
it's like
the link with us, and then we can actually see that an open link later on.
Or else we can just text in the group this PDF file. You can check. Everybody can check the presentation and all.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Swami. Okay, so because we're running out right now, what I'm going to do is to introduce our next speakers, Ying Liu. I think so. She is the evangelist of the traditional Chinese Rami fabric, Xia Bu. So without further ado, let me introduce Ying.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just good news is I don't have any presentation files, but so that's why I want to share is my screen. First of all, I want to share this one, Rami. Why? I'm not saying we are the fiber make your clothes or whatever. It is Rami. It is the ancestor or ancestors fiber. So we all need to know that. And Thea has been in the market for 10 years, and just with one mission is just want the world to know our ancestor before all the Industrial Revolution, and human beings clothes made with basically started with two fibers. The Western is linen and the Eastern is Rami. So that's our mission, just want everybody know. And let's talk about the reason I'm here, because I know we just have 5 minutes. So I will very, very briefly to introduce this. And I did not make any presentation, and I just want to share with some pictures. And for people who do not know about the Rami, this is there are something you can see. First of all is here. I'm just introduce the screen. This is the factory. This is the field where I came from. My hometown is. So Rami have to grow in this area because it's humid and hot. And because Rami is a basic fiber, so we have all different kind of process. Most Rami we sold before look like the girls wearing. The most are industrialized by machine. But today I want to talk about is not that one, or rather it's the handmade. How to get rid of this? Sorry, I'm not very familiar with the Zoom. How I stop the sharing? No.
You can go down the screen, go back to the Zoom button, and then down the bottom, there is, you have to move your mouse down. You see the little blue icon at the bottom where your search bar is. To the left in your search bar.
Yeah.
Yep, and then you see Google Chrome icon and click on the next to it. Yes, click that. Not the Google Chrome. Click the Zoom.
Yeah.
The Zoom button on the right.
Anyway, so I'm afraid to lose you guys again. I can see this. Why? Sorry, I do not know how to do this. Shoot.
Would you? So what I can do? I can. Let me see if I can move your. I can end your sharing, and then you can
yeah. Oh, okay. Now I'm back. Sorry. The thing is, I recently, I mean, not just recent, maybe it's 2 years ago, and this book is out. Basically, Dr. Miguel Gardeni invited me to write a chapter, and this chapter is started from this raw Rami fiber, and many is like this is very, very traditional in our hometown, and everybody used this one long time ago. This is all handmade, and the widest one is like a 60 centimeter, and the shortest one is 35 centimeter and the 45 centimeter. And people use them for different kinds of things, like, you know, like the shoe heels, and they make also can make scarves. You mixed with different kind of material, and then, you know, this kind of thing. What I want to introduce to all the designers, the new designers, is encourage everybody combine with any kind of skills and the creativities you have to make home items. For example, this can be, you know, my home. This is just you know, Rami, and we can make it. Japanese like it very much. They make the curtains, and the Koreans like it very much. And most actually a big volume, low-end exported to Korean, because they believe this is can preserve the body, and then they make a funeral clothes. So, but of course, in my hometown right now, many people love it. This also can combine with the machine, so make it very, very fine, and then you can make embroidery on it. And or traditional, this is make like a bedding, how to say, net, you know, prevent the mosquitoes. And in summer, if you use this, make a bedding on the, you know, it's very cool. So it's antibacterial. That is also very famous for that. But there are also a couple of pictures I want to share with you guys just now. Can you see here? Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Let me enable your screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is basically some products you can see. Now, can you see now?
No, not yet. You have, no, not yet.
If cannot, it's okay. Oh, I see. I have share screen now. Okay, here. Okay, so everybody can see, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, the very fine one goes this product. This is very, very cool in summer, and then you can make the pillowcase, the bedding sheet, And also for this one, it's very normal, handmade. You just made into, you know, a bag, and then you make an embroidery and then combined with leather. And this is different kind. This is our, basically, this is machinery ones we usually sell. And this is jersey one we sell. And this is jacquard, 100%. And look, this is creative. This is a, actually, this is a designer from Zurich also. And she used our bedding fabric to make such a cute outfit. So I'm very amazed. And this is our normal ones. I used it for my curtains. This is our jersey one. So basically, I just want to encourage, okay, now I'm done with the share, and I just want to conclude everything. This is our scarf, dyed with digital dyeing. Can you stop my sharing again?
Sure, I'll do that.
Since almost 10 years ago, I started this project, and I have been giving out free samples to many, many new designers, and also the students from Berlin Design School or many countries in Europe. But later, because my own financial situation, I stopped giving out for free. So I hope that Nori also asked me, and I did not give to him. I hope not to make everybody angry. So if you guys want, you know, see, get our free fabrics or samples, I encourage you still ask me and to see what I can help you. And yeah, it's very happy to see you guys again, and I hope everybody have a wonderful week.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your story as well. I really appreciate it. So because we are actually over time for 36 minutes now, I'm going to make it quite short. Instead of asking all the remaining questions, I'm going to point out the question that Hussein has asked. So Hussein asked the fellow speakers that have been on the stage today, how much do you think the big brands are focusing on the sustainable fashion side? Regardless of all these things happening right now, what are the brands actually implementing and doing from their sides? So would any of the speakers today has any comments?
Yeah, first of all, they make greenwashing. No, but it is, I was shocked. Last week I saw a presentation from H&M about natural dyeing and blah, blah, blah. I think that is, at the moment, everybody speak about sustainability, and most of these big brands do greenwashing. Because when they have a young target group, the young target group is activist in this fashion, Fridays for Future and all these things. And they are really scared that I lose this target group. But also we working for some luxury brands, they are still make couture, and couture is more sustainable from my point of view.
I have something to say, share here, because I'm not come from background like you guys from design or anything. I was born in China, you know, and I went to United States for my Master of Business. And later I worked in Silicon Valley for high tech. And I was a big purchaser there from the high tech. And I noticed the wasting. And then I have kids, and I noticed that materialism initiated by industrial revolution of Western and started to destroy the the earth my kids is going to live in. So that's how I started to join the change. And then I started to dig this, my love this fiber. And for so many years, I started to know about this organic, bio, or sustainable. I think this words is not necessary, really. Everything makes sense because for a long time, when I was in the trade show, I'm tracing GOTS certification. Since it's so expensive, so I did not do it. But later in the big chain of German store, you know, Aldi or Lidl, you can see so cheap GOTS certified underwears there, all poor quality. They got certification already, no use anymore. So you can see it is basic because I'm very familiar from the manufacturer side. During 4 years in China, I visited nearly all the factories, all the textile. You know, my mother used to work for textile. So I knew the problems. The problem actually is not for the designer. Problem is first of all, the problem is from the cost given to the Asian producer. Every layer, you cannot squeeze people until somebody has to find the reasonable surviving cost. And then that's why started from there. And for example, clearly in China, when China get more and more expensive, and they are not going to do the cheap things, like destroy their environment. And these bad things all goes to cheaper country. So I think as a student, I don't think it's necessary to search the sustainable. Sustainable is not for the last, our new small designers. And many people right now want to rewash the cars. So want to take these trends and then, greenwash. Companies like, small company, I know George, and they are really working hard. They really have their personal opinion about what's supposed to be, but we all have, that's why we all end together. We all fight. But the thing is still like H&M and everybody, they can use this name. So I think what we need to do is go to get a cake from the luxury side, because the luxury side first you can afford more, and handmade, or embroidery or whatever from this area. I don't think we should compete with the big ones. And I already think that's why I'm pretty slow right now, because I already see what we can do, what we realistically can make changes. And I hope that Remy, I don't think Remy, if you want everybody use Remy, then you have to make it cheap and make the volume, and that is not the right way. I think the right way is we go to sustainable luxury. And it's like our ancestor, whenever you make something, it lasts forever. That's what I always tell Chinese. They build cheap buildings. That's why they can build up a city in 1 month. That's not the way sustainable. That's my opinion.
Very sorry. I'm quite late as ever. No, I enter just from 15 minutes, and I find this webinar very interesting. I have something to say to Jing Luo and Mike Haddy about certification. As the people that knows me here, I am part of the Global Sustainable Fashion Week as a chief advisor. I'm proud to be, not really be chief, but advisor. And I participate in the Global Sustainable Fashion from the beginning. The people knows that I'm sustain the word sustainable. Because now you speak about fashion, high fashion, and pret-a-porter and big brands. They have very serious involved. Here, you are speaking more about Italy, but you know, some Italian company are part of one of the biggest sustainable group in the world. This is Kering Group. This is a luxury. They need clear parameters. You speak, goats is expensive. Okay, but you have to remember that the rami come from the heart. Where rami grow have to be certified by your local.
I agree.
Very high level, because I tell you, the country that give supply H&M for a t-shirt, can you buy per €7? These people giving very bad reputation. In China, you know, is 80% one of the producers garments and all accessories for H&M, CNA, and the Brie. This group are totally involved to demonstrate to the consumer they do not greenwashing, as George are telling. They inform the consumer. They have the capability to take the media, and they are informed that they are on the top of the research. I see the last video from H&M, totally astonishing. But what they put in the video is maybe 0.00 of the production you can meet in the shop. That means it is not really greenwashing, but the wishes that all the big company want to be faced to the consumer. But it's not your, Rami is not for H&M. Forget this. Rami is cultivated from centuries in Brazil, in close to São Paulo, from a Japanese community there. In Japan, Rami have a super cool fibers, and they are the most finest fiber that you can find around the world. This is the direction, and you have other. You have Ying. I suggest to you to be part of Fair Trade Connection, because you are in this field. You don't need blue sign or cradle to cradle certification. They don't take care about that, but you have to demonstrate clearly. Your speech was fantastic, but nothing tell us about the sustainability of the Rami. This is your passion, I understand, okay. But this passion is not enough.
I understand because
have documents. Why? If you went to sell 1 meter to Stella McCartney, that is still the icons of sustainability in the world of fashion, you have to demonstrate here that you are in this field. At the moment, what you say to us is not enough. Sorry.
I see. Okay, Victor,
we can help you.
Sorry, let me explain. Let me explain, because today I only have 5 minutes.
I have to tell something to my friends. I tell my friend because I love India, of course, and where I started my career in sustainability 30 years ago, searching organic cotton in Tamil Nadu. You can imagine. Yes. I cannot find, of course, that time. About Khadi, that was the most fascinating fabric maybe in the world, because it's the finest hand weaving fabrics in the world. And then Khadi was wearing by Gandhi. In my out, Gandhi was a mythical person, is actually too. It's the same. I see documents, but it's not enough. Maybe it's not the place, maybe you have enough. You need, we have too much people that speak about sustainability, about what is natural or not. We need certification, any kind, but we have to demonstrate you are clean, perfect. You have to, is enough one analysis of where the cotton in India grow. We need to know that. You cannot sell anything to the top fashion. That is sure. finished at the moment.
Victoria, I thought we know for each other for quite a long, because right now this group seems to me is the designer group. That's why I talk about this very top shallow surface. Actually, we did during the whole 10 years, maybe 90% we spent for factory, and then educated Chinese to pass the OK Text 100 testing. That's what we did in nearly 9 years. That's why we did not go to sell too much things. Why? Because most existing ones, they all have problems in producing them. But if I say that here, it will cost a long, long time. If this is, that's why I have been chasing the manufacturer's certification for a long time, until the only thing we did not get is GOTS. That's what I'm telling you. I bring out the GOTS, because GOTS is the end, the designer's final products you need for retail. And for the manufacturer side, absolutely, it's very important, because the dyeing, even the machine peeling, and the how to make this skin to become a fiber, this process, what make this skin, the skin of the stems, to become a fiber, this chemical things. It's a long story. I just want to, if you are interested, we can separate to talk about it. But why we are the one to, I insist for a RAMI topic, because RAMI is very, very popular in Asia, but really the manufacturer knows how to do it right are very, very few right now, especially when the price is not good, they are surviving mood. The similar like linen also.
Jing,
also
sorry,
still.
sorry. We are speaking with somebody that is, I don't want to say expert. We are in textile fashion before you are in the mind of your parents. Sorry. And we studied the school and 40 years ago. I was very young.
Oh, I'm
what
sure
is Rami? Don't worry about that. It's not question to Rami, a reputation of Rami. It's how you are doing your Rami that is not very clear in your presentation.
Yeah,
you need documents, you need a certification, a brand in which we believe. And yarns, you have to sell yarns, because you do yarns, you do something for interior and other products that maybe are not interesting to the wool market.
For the time perspective, I suggest that we move this conversation perhaps offline. Gabby, would you like to give some closing remarks?
Yes. I think that we made a lot of consideration, and also from different aspects we wanted to discuss about the sustainable fabrics. And I think sometimes the people who are dealing with natural fabrics and who are dealing with the man-made fabrics have another access to this whole issue. I am agree that some certificate should be made, and the certificate helps to have a better transparency. And in the fashion revolution, we speak about transparency. When we ask who made our clothes, from which fabrics it was made, and so on, we would like to see the transparency from the agriculture to the sales, So I think that it is much more complicated to have a certificate. When I am a designer and I buy a fabric, then I have to see very clearly from which area it came, or what ecologically what it was made, and so on. So it is a lot of questions what we have to discuss. It takes a longer time because everybody has ideas and share the practice and so on. In the Asian countries, I think that they have roots regarding the natural fabrics and production and handmade and so on. I think it has also a very good place regarding the new researchers who are dealing with man-made fibers and fabrics, recycled fabrics, for example. It is another issue. So everybody has their own activity and have also a place in this sustainable fashion industry. I think what we have to ask is not only the sustainability, is the circularity. And that's why I asked Edwina to be our moderator, because the circularity is a bit more than the only sustainability approach to the fabric as well. So I think that this opportunity was very good to think about this issue, who made our clothes, who made our fabrics, and also our experts gave also good examples from their own activity. And of course, everybody like his own activity, and everybody has a special approach to the sustainability and also the sustainability fabric. I know Yinglu, she's really dealing with this Rami issue like a fan of the Rami, and I think it is wonderful. But it is also a question of fair trade and this group. There are also others. Regarding the question whether the big brands are dealing with sustainability and more, yes, greenwashing, I dealt a lot with the fast fashion companies and so on. Also during the Fashion Revolution campaign, we try to push also these big brands because of the transparency, to give more information how they made the wear and how they produced their garments and also these fashion items. But I think there are a positive change also regarding the big brands. I see some changes. There are a lot of greenwashing, I agree with it, but I think that the pushing by the buyers, also the young generation who would like to get much more sustainable items in the shops, and they would like to buy not this cheap product, rather what has a story behind, they know where it came from and so on, then it is a very good power of the fashion revolution to ask the producers, to ask many questions from the producers. So I think I am optimistic because something should be changed, and also fashion revolution want to have a radical change in the fashion industry. The system is not good. And maybe you saw also in the true cost, this was mentioned, that the whole system in the fashion industry is not good. To change the whole system, to be much more circular, social, and so on. So I think that from the ground, from the basic questions, we have to start to discuss about the fashion industry. But I think that everybody has the role, the customers, the citizens have the role, the producers have a role, everybody. So in their own field, they have to do something. And if we see it very in a holistic way, the change is coming, maybe slowly, but the change is coming. If it's a radical, what the fashion revolution movement requires, I do not think that it is a very radical change which is coming, but we see the virus situation, the pandemic situation now. So the people try to communicate and to work in teams better. Also the designers, they try to help each other more. They would like to slow down a bit and to think over what is the value of the life, also in the creative work, for example, as a designer. Also the citizens, the people do not buy too much things because it is not very necessary. So it is also a push for the fast fashion companies. Maybe they have not, they should not produce so much because of the profit. Maybe they should produce items which are much more sustainable. Maybe they have a higher price, so then can make a better calculation in the profit. So I think that this change is coming, and we are the change. So we have a discussion with our volunteers that you are the change. So everybody has the role to do something in this sustainable fashion and circular fashion. So thank you so much for the speakers. I think that it was really, really very informative, and it was a motivation for the others to join us in the future in such a conversation, and we will continue it. So it was the first opportunity together now with this group, but we will continue, and we plan also different panels at the next Global Sustainable Fashion Week. We shall see how will be the pandemic situation in Hungary, what can we arrange or organize at site. I am not very optimistic in this way, but online we can have programs. Education is very important. So we have not discussed about this issue now, but for us, for the Global Sustainable Fashion Week's member, also for our Hungarian Fashion Revolution campaign, it is very important to teach also the very young people and to explain them why they should be much more conscious also in their buying different clothes and so on. So thank you so much, Edwina, because you are really a professional moderator, and that's why I ask you to be the host of our event now, and we will continue. I wish all of you good health, be safe. If it could happen, ask for a vaccine, because in Hungary it is in a good way now, so many people receive the vaccination, and I do hope that we will meet also in person in Budapest, not now, but a little later, but we will meet, Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Gabby, for your closing remark. And thank you everybody who joined this call today and have chipped in your point of professionalism. We were not able to cover all the questions, unfortunately, and all the discussions. Happily to have this discussion maybe move offline. But definitely thank you so much to join us for these sessions. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Take care.
See you all. See you again. Bye-bye.